Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. TCGPrime.com with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as FoulLibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at FoulLibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer patrons Shukong Fu, Vite Ramen, and Maxime Van He. Thank you for your support. Class is in session.
Hey there, rulers. Welcome back to the deck profile, this time with yours truly, Paul Reissmann. Today we're going to be looking at the blue fox list that I piloted here on the channel most recently, inspired by XD, also known as Charlie DeMeulle. Make sure you go subscribe to him on YouTube here. It's a pretty good channel. It's got really good content. And as you can see, I'm not in my normal studio. I'm actually doing some work stuff, so I'm in a different location for the time being. But I still have the ability to do a video, so please excuse the poor lighting and the weird difference in sound quality. This is not going to be normal, of course, but let's just jump right into this, okay? So first of all, you have Lilius Petal, Agent of Salvation. On the front side, he does absolutely nothing, but he does Judgment for 0 into the Nine-Tailed Fox. Cannot be destroyed, and makes chimeras when you sack a Wind and Darkness and Killing Stone. So your 2 Resonators and your Killing Stone, and then of course you can do that once per turn, either getting a chimera from your deck, from the remove from game, from your hand, or from outside the game, which is your sideboard, of course. And then you also have the tap ability to shuffle a Killing Stone from your graveyard back into your stone deck, so you're able to continue to make additional chimeras. We'll be talking about those right now because I think the Chimera suite is actually super important to this conversation. So I run 3 Griffin Racing Across Darkness. This is pretty standard. I'm glad we finally got this card back. It's been a few ban lists, but the fact that this card is actually here means that we actually get to make more stones and apply pressure as Fox. I played 3 of them. 4 seems a little much. You could go up to 4. There's only 13 cards in the sideboard, as you might be able to see. But yeah, Griffin is bread and butter of the deck. You absolutely need at least 3 or 4 of them. 1 Manticore. Regalia is not really that big of a deal right now. There are some instances where discarding a card from your opponent's hand or getting rid of a pesky addition is pretty important. So 1 or 2 of this kind of makes sense to me, but I only play 1 just for preference. And then Amit, Beast of Gluttony, to just blow up any Resonator that's giving me trouble and gain me some life back, which is kind of nice. So, and also it can just target itself if you need it to for some reason. If you want to go like -4 for any particular reason. So then we get into the actual engine of Fox. So you're going to be playing a lot of 1 and 2 drop Resonators to make use of Fox's effect. Dracula is probably the best Darkness Resonator that we have in the game for that right now, because we don't have Demonic Dead. It's currently banned. Dracula, it's got Flying, and it's got Barrier White. So things like Prideful Rule, not going to be able to destroy it, etc. Hunting Angel is another really good example of this as well. It gets +1/+1 every time it comes back from the graveyard, which it will do at the end step of every turn, as long as it left the field. And then when it comes back, it gets +2/+2. And then the bottom side, which is not super relevant most of the time. I think I've only ever used this effect once, and this card has been out for quite a while. It has, it's the Jewel of Darkness. It has Remnant, so if it's in the graveyard, you can just use the effect. You can pay 1 less for every +1/+1 counter that was on Dracula as it went to the graveyard. And then it just destroys all J Resonators your opponent controls. It's pretty nice. Gets around Barrier, does not get around Eternal, which is unfortunate. We're playing a black and green deck, so I'm going to play one of the best black and green cards in the game, Girion. Girion has a lot of applications with Mikage Rhea, which dumps it to the graveyard, and we can also bring it back with part of True Power by sacrificing the Rhea and bringing out Girion, and then we just have a free Girion because Rhea comes back to my hand. Girion is Swiftness, Precision Flying, ridiculously strong card. My opponent can't play 1-drops. And then if I have it in hand, I can cancel a 1-drop or I can destroy a 1-drop Resonator. Just has high utility. It's an amazing, amazing card, and it's notably a beast, not a Chimera. Big, big set. We already talked about Kinkage Rhea a little bit, but because she does have that passive effect that gives vampires drain, she works really well with Dracula, especially if Dracula gets really, really big. You're going to be swinging for a lot of additional drain, which is really great. So this is where my deck differs from Charlie's a little bit. I played 3 Priscilla Seeker of Friends. This was much better and was probably a 4 in the deck before we got clarification on how Priscilla's effect actually works with her big show. This will allow you to sort of fix the top of your deck so you get some more prominently good cards in the actual deck that you need. But Priscilla is also just a 1-card Chimera. It flashes in, you can grab yourself a Rhea, a Lorite, a Windservant of Ragnarok, which we'll talk about more as time goes on, to go into additional plays. So Priscilla has a lot of application in the deck, and this is where I personally see this card being instrumental and probably a staple in the deck, personally speaking, just because of how good it is in general. It's also a 7/7, which is not a bad stat line for a body like this. You play 4 Lorite because it's Lorite. I mean, this card is absolutely fantastic. I would definitely play Lorite over Persephone, because even though Persephone is in color and might have some utility, Lorite is just going to have way more utility overall. I'm playing 4 Witch of the Fallen Kingdom. This might go down to 3, mostly because Zeus is a big threat in the format right now, and Witch really seems to hamper that, although it can get a little cloggy at 4, and you can also bring it out with Priscilla, so there's, you know, some precedence maybe to remove it from the 4 copies spot down to 3, but right now I said I don't want to take any chances against Zeus, and I just want to play so many of these. Of course, if you're playing Witch, you're also going to have stuff in your sideboard, such as Witch with the Pointy Hat, which is essentially a 5th Lorite. And then you have Pumpkin Witch for the swiftness flying endgame, in case you need to do a whole bunch of stuff on your own turn and then swing per game with, like, making a bunch of Griffins, making one on your opponent's turn, and then making another one on your turn, flying swiftness, be able to swing with all of them. This is pretty important. So Witch of the Fallen Kingdom has a lot of application, especially in the metagame currently, so this is more of a metal call than anything. Windservant of Ragnarok, I did not realize how good this card was, or why it was in this deck, but when I was rewatching Charlie's video, I kind of realized, oh, this is because you can do some really wacky things with it. So on turn 1, I've often done this where I played Windservant of Ragnarok on my opponent's turn, and then gone immediately into a Witch, or gone into a Kinkage Rhea, which means I automatically have the materials for my Lilius Petal to do his thing and get me a Griffin, etc. So this card, you know, it kind of looks meager, but the fact that it can do that much is really, really helpful. The reason this deck is a Blue Fox deck is because Setting the Stage for Providence exists in this list. It is there to make sure that our Chimera effects go off and they are not Lorited. Also, that any of my cards that I'm casting cannot be canceled by my opponent's cancels. This seems really important. 2 Black Moonray. This feels more optional than it has in the past. This is just there in case my opponent is ordering into something really, really good, and I just needed a little bit of defense. I'm also running Moonray. Wow, these are Moonrays. I'm running Moon Shades. Excuse me. So I can make this copy of, I can make these cards unchaseable, which is really helpful against order decks. So this is sort of more of like a personal preference, just for removal options. I play 3 Blessing of Yggdrasil. There are times in which I just cannot get into my Killing Stone. There's also times in which I have a bunch of will, and I could make a Chimera, but I just don't have Killing Stone in the moment, so Blessing of Yggdrasil is a really good way for me to get there. It's also really helpful for me to grab one of the Fiery Stones if I'm like not in need of a Killing Stone, but I want an Omni Stone that's going to be helpful for me as I go throughout the game to have more access to will and such, and getting it out of the deck so that way I have recovered stones when I have my Griffin plays. This is just helpful for that. It's just another good Omni Stone, and if I don't quite have Fox flipped yet, it's just another way for me to be able to call Stone, potentially get that Killing Stone, and then Judgment. So this is just a tool, again, just really more of my preference. I already talked about Part of True Power a little bit. This is really good for not only getting back Girion, but it's also good for getting back any of your Chimeras that hit Graveyard. One of the primary things you need to realize about Fox is he can grab a Chimera from anywhere except the graveyard. So part of True Power is really helpful for that. One of my favorite cards in the game of all time, Magic Stone Research Institute. I saw a lot of the like smaller, like I saw like Rheas and Draculas, Lorites, Witch, Wind Servant, and I thought, you know, I would really lose to aggro quite handedly. And so I like the boost that Research Institute gives me. Plus I have a lot of ramp in the deck because of Griffin. This is able to sort of get rid of one of my stones that I do not need and potentially get me into another killing stone. So I have 5 different ways to sort of manipulate my stone base, which is really helpful. And then removing my opponent's graveyard from the game is also really nice if I happen to have a Fox that is recovered and I have no killing stones in grave, or it's just, you know, advantageous for me to remove their graveyard. There it is. And then of course we cannot run Fairy Spell in the deck because of setting stage for Providence, so I just opted to play 4 number 13 anti-magic. These are going to hit seal 4 very quickly, which means they're going to be essentially a Fairy Spell. So, but it's also not a 1 cost that can be canceled by Girion, so I just opted to play 4 number 13s. Stone deck is pretty simple. 4 killing stone. You need 4 killing stone if you're playing Fox. It's just kind of true. Black Silence is there to help color fix. There's only 1 copy of it for all the reasons that I have Magic Stone Research Institute in here for. Stone of Chaos, Stone of Knowledge. Stone of Knowledge is here to just be an Omni Stone. Seal 3 in this deck is really easy to come to, probably easier than any other deck that I can really think of. I already kind of mentioned Ragnarok's Fiery Stone, but this is just here to help me have a little bit more utility if I haven't flipped Fox yet, or just to be another Omni Stone as the game goes through. And then I play 3 Magic Stone of Moonshade. I opted to play 1 Fiery Stone and 3 Moonshade because I hate getting all of my Moonshades and burning myself to death just because I want to play the game. So if I have extras of these on the field, I'll probably just institute them away so I can have more variety of stones. But you have 5 unique stone names in this, and you can get to 5 unique names pretty easily with your Griffins, etc. So in my opinion, this is perfectly fine. I like having the Institute availability. It's really, really helpful in this, and the stone base does not feel screwed up in hardly any of my games, if any of my games. So we'll go into the sideboard a little bit. We talked about Pumpkin Witch and all of these other like things you can cheat out of the extra deck. You have 2 Black Moonray in addition. This is just in case I was playing against something like an Alice where they order out their IU super quick. This is for me to kill them off really fast with very little resistance by them. And because it is a blue Fox list and I am running Rhea, I'm actually playing 1 Castle of Beatrice and 3 Shackles of Ice. Shackles of Ice does not affect Fox at all. He has no effects on his ruler side, and Shackle stops ruler effects. So there are some decks in the format, notably Fallen Angels, Six Sages, like the tag decks, tend to suffer under Shackles of Ice. So I placed those into the sideboard. They can easily be slotted into the main board if Fallen Angel or Six Sage tag rulers are a problem for you. But Castle of Beatrice to me felt really helpful because I do have access to blue in the deck because of things like Fiery Stone, Moonshade, Magic Stone of Knowledge, Wind Servant of Ragnarok too. I can actually pull this off where I can put a Resonator from my graveyard back into my hand. This is a really good way of getting your Chimera from the grave back into your hand if you don't have part of True Power. It's helpful for you to be able to get something that died back into your hand, like a Lorite. Any of your stuff that went to the graveyard that's actually more useful in your hand than in your grave after you make a Chimera. This card is just there to help protect my graveyard as well. Killing Stones getting removed from the game is ouch, to say the least. It is not fun to get your Killing Stones removed while you're playing Fox. So I just like this little tech. It's just in there for me. Of course, you don't even have to run a sideboard if you don't want to. But I just saw the opportunity to run that with Rhea. And if you're gonna probably want to bump it up to 3 Rhea if you are gonna lean more heavily into Castle of Beatrice. All that being said, guys, this has been my Blue Fox deck profile. It's a little bit different than Charlie's. Again, follow him, XD, on YouTube. He's pretty great. ECKSDEEXD. search it up. He's great. He's got good content. He does Wanderer Wednesdays and stuff like that. So this is going to be really great for you guys who are just getting into the game. Let me know what you think of this list. I piloted it. It feels really comfortable to me. It fits my playstyle when I play Fox. There's a ton of other things I could try in this. They may be superfluous or unneeded. I'm not entirely sure, but I do just like the concept of Fox. And it's in a really good rogue position right now, which means I'm definitely going to play it. So guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you haven't already. Let me know what you think of this deck, what things you would change. And until next time, guys, this has been Paul, signing off.